Try headphone. Try headphone. Can you hear? You can hear? Sam, you can hear? No, 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 no. Go again. Go put again. Put again. And go to that. I'm not using that. Miking is that. Huh? Hello. Do you hear the mic?
Yeah, it's coming through.
It's coming, right? Mic is okay.
Are we good to go?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. We are in live. Mara, to go. Live is not working. It will.
Canada, we'll get started.
No, not good. She's working.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's gonna be the audience.
Good evening and welcome, everybody. Thank you all for coming.
Looks like it's working.
Started Southwest Friend. I've lived here since 2003. My certificate of neighborhood is so much longer than I have two kids, both with just want to make sure that we thank all the volunteers who spent a ton of time getting prepped for tonight and putting everything together. And then Kyle as our DJ. So, quick round of applause for all the thank you to our candidates. I will do a quick introduction, rules of engagement for tonight, and then we'll get started. So, I was going to do alphabetical order, but maybe I'll just go back. We have Ryan Collins, the Centrist Party, Michael Cousin,
Nobody can hear it, right?
Christine Nugent,
Let me check out this one again.
Bill Blair, Liberal, Amanda Kane, Green Parties, Tina Siobhan. Welcome. So Giving you notice when you've got 100% left from your time and then left when your time is up. All participants, not just the candidates, we're requesting that you remain respectful, there's zero tolerance policy for that. And for our candidates, usually there's for this one, Catherine, person here will take your microphone, at least one question. So be mindful of that. And if you have information to believe that, there's no.
Same as system, same as system.
So let's begin.
This is the first time we three candidates. Starting with self-education for schools. Even husband and wife cannot be internet. Second policy we need to support lives that new functions come here and make a further action against harm. $6 million houses. I'm a real.
That's how it's okay.
If you say it's okay. You can afford. As a realtor, I started as a security guard in the economy complex. From there, I worked for and I saw the agreements of paying. A real 10 years of liberals are really taken up completely. So 1% growth. That is unacceptable in the world. Also, this country is divided based on somebody has we are liberals.
Strawberry decided was because I'm trying to pick up on this.
I have politicians who know the real day and they read on these tools, whereas their pension is 3 times the pension that these widows and these soldiers who are standing there. So it's a shameful situation that really housing crisis is just everywhere. We're so thank you so much.
Thank you, Imran. Michael.
Everyone, thank you for being here. It's great to see this attendance. I'm here tonight because the Conservative Party has drifted way too far to the left, and I'm here to offer my fellow citizens an option to vote for someone that stands on the right side of the right side, the correct side, or the right side of this. The number one problem in our country right now is too much inflation. That is what is causing our housing to go crazy the way it is, and the costs to rise facing the streets. We see that we need to put a complete pause and immigration so that we can get control of the market and bring the prices down. Right now, the liberals are simply debating between letting to let in how many new immigrants. But at the end of the day, the PPC stands for saying, let's put a pause on immigration and let's get control of our market, of our housing market. Secondly, is the stance on abortion. PPC takes a very different stance on abortion than the other parties. Right now in 2025, an abortion can occur at any point of pregnancy. We believe that we should join other countries, such as European countries, and limit abortion to the first trimester.
Can't make it with the speakers.
Of course, there's, conditions where the mother's health and so forth is involved, we've got to take that into consideration. But in general, we should not have abortions past the first trimester. That's a very key position for the PPC. I think the main thing here that we're agreeing with my politician is that you do need change. We keep going back and forth between liberal and conservative, and it's not getting us anywhere. We need party of change. I believe the PPC can help. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank the organizations who have organized this today, this all candidates meeting, which is set up to allow political parties to inform the people about their political platforms. Unfortunately, across the country, this is not happening universally. There are many candidates that are being denied the right to put their views forward. The main and many local media sources and organizations holding meetings are denying many parties, especially small parties, a voice, and this is unacceptable. This is an important election. Canadians are activated politically on the question of sovereignty and a new direction for the economy and for the rights of all. Our security in Canada lies in the fight for the rights of all and for people to speak out. It is important for you to consider voting for our party or any of the small parties. You can take a stand for democratic renewal, which the Trudeau government did promise to change the first task post system and then rescinded it. Evidently, he didn't want any outside parties participants. The main cartel parties, the Conservatives and that by the NDP, their main aim is to line the pockets of oligarchs, the rich, as part of the war with the U.S. on tariffs, using our raw materials and human capital. They are planning to assist the U.S. war machine through NATO and NORAD, of which Canada must not be part. They are pushing for a war economy along with Europe and others. Canada must be a zone for peace. The direction of the economy will line the pockets of the oligarchs and rich, sell our resources to the high.
Continue, thank you, Kristen. Bill, read.
I took out the phone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill Blair. I'd like to begin as well by thanking the organizers of tonight's event. I think it's really important to give all candidates an opportunity to speak, to discover Southwest, and to answer your questions. I also want to take the opportunity as well to thank all of the people who presented themselves here as candidates. I think it's a very special kind of courage to put your name forward and to ask for people's vote, and I'm pleased to be joined by fellow candidates here tonight. I have had the privilege of serving this community as a conference since 2015. Prior to that, I also had the opportunity to serve this community and the city as a police officer and as chief of police. And the experience of keeping the city safe for so many years is really what led me to continue in public service. And the opportunity to come to Scarborough Southwest, a community that I love in, a community that I'm inclusive, but a community support. Because so many people in this community are people who come from other places in the world, come to make a life here, and when I first came here, I noticed the thing that was struggling with poverty. So over the past 10 years, we've of poverty and print opportunities and respect for all the people of this riding. But currently, Canada is facing what I believe is a very consequential challenge, and that's what makes this a very consequential election. So I think we've got to move on. And I hope that I'm able to convince you all. Choice of Congressman Martin as the leader at this time, I believe is the right person for this country at this time. And I am asking very sincerely for your support. For us, stand again, your service of Christ. My name forward and we will continue to serve. I believe he was asking me to help defend our country, to make sure that we continue to stand up to the challenges that Congress represents to us, but also to build this country, to build great jobs, new homes, new opportunities, greater prosperity for all the Canadians. It's very difficult to say no to that challenge. So I said yes, and I come here tonight. That's New York.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. We'll try and find another mic for you guys.
I want to just start with the land examination, which should be about you. For thousands of years, this has been traditional land that here on Wicked, the Seneca, the Mississaugas, and the Credit. And today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people across Turtle Island. And I'm grateful for their stewardship of the land. My name is Amanda Kane. I was born and raised here in Scarborough Southwest. Went to school at Scarborough Village, Anson Park, and R.H. King. When I was at R.H. King, I started the United Coaches of King Group, which is still around now. I can talk loudly. 25 years later, it still is existence at R.H. King. My political aspirations began in high school. I became a teen mother while in high school. Lived in the shelter system. Struggled, went to college, and so I know what many people are facing. I've lived there, been at, still doing. I'm here to represent the choices of low-income people, for the working class, and for those on ODSP and OW. And the voices of these folks are quite often, and it is something that I look forward to. Talking. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And to West Scarborough Community over the Center for Organizing this event. It is my pleasure to be here. My name is Tiffany. And I'm running to represent Scarborough Southwest, the community where I grew up and where I'm now raising my two children. I am a working mom, an organizer, and someone who has lived the struggle. And I am stepping up because our community deserves better. I work at the Salvation Army headquarters, and I volunteer at the Regent Heights Public School Council as a treasurer. I went to University of Toronto where I studied international relations and criminology and sociolegal studies. However,
The most important lessons I've learned came from navigating systems that weren't built for people like me, and from fighting every step of the way to survive, to belong, and to create change. It took me 14 years to become a Canadian citizen, 14 years of waiting, uncertainty, and feeling invisible. That experience is why I founded an association that advocated for a path to citizenship for undocumented youth, because no young person should grow up without status in the only home they've ever known. I have also been a caregiver. When my mother was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, I had to fight for her to access basic care. She was told she had to wait months to start chemo, months she didn't have. At the same time, I was working, grieving, caregiving, drowning in daycare costs and broken systems. That's why I fight. That's why I organize. As a proud member of ACORN and a tenant organizer, I've been standing shoulder to shoulder with my neighbors, taking on corporate landlords, defending tenants' rights, and building stronger, united communities that don't just survive, we push back. I am running because Scarborough Southwest needs a fighter. Working class, low income, and middle income families are being pushed to the edge. And as we face a looming trade war with the United States, it's going to be our communities, not the wealthy, that get hit the hardest. We need a leadership that understands the stakes and isn't afraid to act. We need an affordable childcare. We need housing that people can afford. We need a comprehensive health system with pharmacare, dental care, and mental health care, healthcare included. These are not radical ideas. They are bare minimum in a just society. Thank you.
Testing.
Well done, everyone. You kept to your time. No punishment for this round. So our next section is going to be pre-submitted questions. Each of you behind the speaker. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so our next section will be 3 submitted questions. Each of you will get 1.5 minutes to answer. We will start, since Fatima, you went last, we'll start with you along. So we'll welcome our first questioner, who is Peshawar Laila. I'll come over to you. How's that? Okay, I'm coming. Stand over here so they can see you.
Okay. Okay. Oh, wow. I can see myself. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity on behalf of the community. I will ask the first question. My question will be on the immigration issues. And before asking question in a short, I will give the overview. Newcomers, especially those who arrive as refugees or with temporary status, are facing multiple and compounding crises. But despite contributing to the economy, they are facing intense exploitation by employers and landlords at being excluded from various social safety nets. If you are good enough to work, you are good enough to stay. As a community with many newcomer members of various backgrounds and immigration status, we need a representative who will advocate for us. For a long time, community organizations and advocates have been sounding the alarms on the barriers of legalization for all newcomers and the lack of comprehensive settlement, employment, and legal support. I have 2 questions. Will you work with your constituents and parliaments to advocate for legalization? The second question, and will you work with your constituents to ensure adequate availability of comprehensive settlement, employment, language, and legal support for newcomers to improve their transition to Canada? Thank you.
Okay, Fatima, do you want to go first?
Hello.
Okay.
This works. You have to talk deep.
Oh. Thank you so much for your question. And of course, this topic is very close to my heart, as I mentioned. My story when I came to Canada was quite different from a lot of people. We actually didn't come as permanent residents, we came as refugees. I was a refugee from what the conservative government, that time the minister was Jason Kenney. I don't know if anybody remembers, but they passed some draconian policies, things like safe country. It was basically if you came from certain countries from Europe, you were considered not really, you were not really considered a refugee. So basically, as I said already, I fought over 10 years to become a PR. So I said it took me 14 years to become a citizen, but it took me out of that 12 years or 13 years to become a permanent resident. I have fought deportation order, probably about 3 of them, as a, sorry, I should get into the policy. But yes, of course, New Democrats will clear the backlog, reunite families, fix foreign credential recognition so immigrants can work. We will focus on making sure that people can settle here, stay here. We are focusing on making sure that we have, ESL classes like we used to. The conservatives have taken that away from us. We need to make sure that people are able to call this place home and that they're not being taken advantage of as foreign workers.
Testing. Here.
Thank you. Amanda.
Okay. We increasingly live in a world where conflict and uncertainty are on the rise, from the threat from global wars to international authoritarianism. What we face is unprecedented. Canadians have always led with courage and empathy. I used to work with newcomer students, and I know the challenges that their families have faced. And we need to start working with our counterparts around the world, but in particular, the countries that seem to start with the letter P don't get to have their credentials passed like others. And we can certainly address this. One of the things that with immigration with the Green Party of Canada is that there's going to be an increase of refugee claimants. Can you hear me? Refugee claimants because of climate change. These will, as the UN has designated them, climate change refugees. Also, we'd be looking at bringing in folks from areas that are war-torn and providing them with the supports that are needed. Unfortunately, we have seen a decrease in funding for newcomer supports, and that is something that we can address through economic means and broadening the horizons of a just transition for all. And we will be putting forth $300 million to ensure this is done.
Thank you, Amanda. Bill.
Were born in another country, and they've made the remarkable choice to come from all over the world to make a life here, to live together in peace and in harmony, and to create a great country. New Canadians have fueled our economy since its inception and support strong economic growth to address our demographic shifts and to help us withstand some of the economic shocks that we are currently facing. And its well-managed immigration system. And I agree with the point that we have a responsibility to all those who make this country to have the social services in place and the supports that they need. And it's why we have made very significant investments and will continue to invest in settlement services, in housing, in job, and so that we can connect people to job opportunities. We are also recognized that it has put enormous pressure on our housing. And I'm sure we'll talk about housing shortly, but we are going to need hundreds and hundreds of thousands of new affordable homes so that people who chose to make a life in this country can live safely and in prosperity. Thanks.
Thank you. Christine.
Don't count yet. Working on it. Test. Just to continue what I was saying, I have been working closely with the women, their families, youth, and seniors
fighting on the front lines for the rights of all, for childcare, living wage, for a safe workplace, accessibility and affordable housing, food security, and healthcare. Our Canadian government, both under the Liberals and Conservatives, have always had a racist immigration policy. This goes back even to the 70s with the Green Paper on immigration. You can investigate this. What is happening now is that those women that I know that have worked so hard for almost 2 decades to get their rights met by this government shouldn't have to work as hard as they have to work to get their rights. It should be guaranteed because they are human. So to have to fight for childcare, to have to fight for housing, to have to fight for these things is not acceptable. We have no shortage of funding in Canada. It is being used to pay the rich, to bail out corporations. It is being used to plan a war economy. And we have to think seriously about making sure that these political parties do not have the chance to do that.
Thank you. Michael.
When we decide to accept an immigrant into the country, we need to make sure we take care of them and that they have their jobs, they have services, obviously. The problem is not, that's not the problem. The problem is that if you let in too many people at the same time, the system can't keep up. And this is not anything to do with what people want or their desires. We want to help as many people as possible, but there's only a certain amount of people that a system can take in and assimilate and support. We can't let in 500,000 new people a year and take care of them all at once. And I think it does a disservice to the people that we do accept into this country, right? They come here, they apply, we accept them, and then we don't have enough services to take care of them. And the reason we don't have enough services is because we're letting in too many at once. And there are so many people in the world that need help. There's no way we can help everyone. No matter how many people we help here in Canada, there's going to be suffering across the world. So I don't believe that, or the PPC does not believe that taking care of everyone across the world is something that benefits us. So that's why I believe it is important to have controlled immigration so that we can actually take care of the people that we do choose to let in. We evaluate you, we say, hey, you're gonna make a great fit here, you're gonna contribute very well to this society. But if we let in too many people at once, we can't take care of you. That's unfair to the people we're letting in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Imran Khan.
Thank you. Thank you. I start by saying that let's say if we have, we open the tap of a sink and the water is running down and we're just mopping the water, right? So nobody has ever addressed, anybody I've seen, nobody has addressed the actual issue. As a Muslim, we believe that if you are not a true Muslim, if your neighbor sleeps hungry, what is happening to this world? Why are these people leaving their homelands? Trust me, if we are fair for everybody, these people will never leave their homeland. It is because we are very selfish in our policies. We do not take care of the world. We're supposed to take care of them. Get together, even with Mr. Trump. Understand this, we have to work together. We cannot just work on retaliation and just policies of revenge. We have to work together, create an environment so these people don't have to come. Believe me, then open the borders. They will not come. They will stay happy where they are. They do not want to come here. But once again, there are people who are persecuted in other countries. We have to evaluate and bring them in. Canada has to be a welcoming country. Give them citizenship, give them to path to citizenship, but legalize everything in a proper way. We need to have skill-based immigration, and refugees, yes, we have to welcome them if they are being persecuted. There are some converts who will never cooperate. But once again, we have to address the issue, not the symptoms. All of you, sorry to say that, have done that, addressed the symptoms, and the policies of Liberals and NDP have failed us. They have totally failed us in the 10 years. What have they done? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We now have a question on childcare from Helen Dumbaya. So I'm going to ask her to come up.
Hi. Many families in Scarborough Southwest are, am I good? Okay. encouraged by premise of the $10 a day program. But the reality is there's a long wait list, and it's making it impossible to get in. What is your party's plan to expand across the board for affordability? Hello? Affordability for all the age groups, especially before and after school programs in our community.
Thanks, Helen. And I think we all heard you. I heard you. Did the audience hear the questions on child care and making it affordable? So this time I'll start in the middle with Bill, and then we'll work our way out. So then we'll go Bill, Christine, Amanda, Michael, Fatima, and Imran, you're last again. But you know what? You get to go first the next question. Okay?
First of all, thank you very much for a very important question. Our government did introduce affordable childcare, which we agree is essential for Canadian families, and for far too many families, it has become far too expensive. Families, now 900,000 children in Canada are benefiting from affordable childcare right across this country as a result of the efforts of our government, and with families saving up to $16,200 per year. Mr. Poilievre, the leader of the Conservatives, in his very first speech in his political career, opposed federal funding for childcare. We have signed early and learning childcare agreements with all of the provinces and territories. We've created up to 250,000 new spaces, and we've announced agreements with 11 of the 13, everyone except Alberta and Saskatchewan, so right here in Ontario, to deliver childcare, which is $10 a day or less, and in every other jurisdiction, it'll be delivered with reduction of fees of at least 50%. That's an important investment in Canadian families. It gives women in particular an opportunity to participate in the workforce, and it helps keep our children safe. In addition to that, we are also investing in, what it wasn't part of the question, but I wanted to mention, we're investing in school food programs. Children should not go to school hungry, and yet we know hundreds of thousands of children in this country, in fact, do. And so we are investing in a child food program so that our children can be well fed at school, that will feed up to 400,000 children as a result of this initiative. Thanks.
Let me see. Yeah, we're good. Thank you for your question. I've been very familiar with the fight for the rights of childcare in this community, and it goes back more than 15 years. And why has this community of women and their families had to fight for childcare? Childcare is a right. So if it's a right because you're human, then it should be guaranteed. It shouldn't be a matter of having politicians declare, first of all, that they're going to provide you with childcare some 15 to 20 years later after you started fighting for it. And then let's look at what they did offer you according to what we just heard. In reality, the childcare funding is not going to these women who have been fighting. It's going to the province, and the province isn't guaranteeing spaces or subsidies, which come from the municipality. So you can promise childcare, but you have to follow through all the way down and ensure that it's getting to the families that need it, and it's not. And we know that because consultations have taken place in this community on this issue, time and time again. So follow through, it's not getting to them.
Know this issue very deeply. While I was sitting on the Children's Services Committee of the City of Toronto, one of the things that I had brought forward was the issue of childcare. And when you start to earn more money, how the threshold for subsidized daycare is the exact same rate as when your tax rate goes up. So you actually end up with less money than you did when you were a lower income person. And that is why the Green Party of Canada will be reducing all tax on up to $40,000 for folks who are low income to ensure that those two measurements don't impede on each other. That will put another $3,000 into people's pockets. One of the other platform issues that we have is care of all stages. Often care is provided not only in childhood, but also for elder care. And we are looking at implementing a paid leave care for those who are ill, for those who are parenting, and for those who have undergone miscarriage. Thank you.
Not working? All right. Again, here we're going to see a difference between the PPC and the other parties. The PPC represents, or sorry, respects jurisdiction. Childcare is not the jurisdiction of the federal government, and it cannot be delivered effectively from the federal government. All that's going to happen if we try to get the federal government to do childcare is they are going to inefficiently grab a whole bunch of money from the taxpayers, and they're going to take a very, very small fraction, and that small fraction is what is going to end up taking care of the child. It's a bureaucracy. So the PPC's position on childcare is very simple. That's provincial jurisdiction. It is not for the federal government to be involved. The provinces can do a much better job, and it needs to be at that provincial level. Thank you.
Hello, huh? Okay, okay, good. Well, thank you so much for that question. I am a mom of a 1.5-year-old little girl who is in daycare. And I can say that, I appreciate that it was mentioned in the question, the issue of before and after school program. My son actually goes to Regent Heights Public School, and I've been advocating for a before school program because Regent Heights Public School actually does not have a before school program. I am a local woman, I am involved. And I also, on the federal level, I want to remind you guys that it was the NDP that has pushed for the $10 childcare. When you send new Democrats to parliament, good things happen. Even if we are not, even if our Jagmeet Singh, our prime minister is not, our leader is not the prime minister, our presence in parliament makes a huge difference. The New Democrats have always believed that childcare is a public good, not a luxury. We are committed to making a $10 childcare a reality here by expanding not-for-profit spaces, improving wages for early childhood educators, and making sure every family from Taylor Massey to Cliffside has access to care they can count on. Thank you.
Fatima, I'll tell you that what $10 childcare will bring, quality, which is going to go down really bad. You know how much abuse is happening in these childcare centers? It is unbelievable. Okay, so the first thing is that we have to see how the federal government is misusing the funds that are supposed to go to the provincial government to take care of this. This is the root of the problem. Do you know that $13 billion is given to Quebec? Since the conservative government took power in 2006, they are giving $13 billion a year to Quebec in equal payments. That money goes over there. We've got nothing left. So the federal government has nothing to give to the provincial government. Provincial government, what they do, they are left to their own devices. Now we have illegal childcare centers. I can tell you every single morning I come from the gym, I'm seeing these people dropping off these kids in illegal childcare centers. I know where they are, and the politicians will just give you politic talk, right? They will talk until you sleep. And then guess what? The next day of election, they're sitting in their high chairs. You go to them and you ask them, and they don't even know who you are. They won't return your emails, they won't return your call. We at Centrist Party believe that we should hold these politicians accountable. We are running to half the salary. I'm running to half my salary. And then let's see how many people will run. How many people put their husbands and wives in the position of judges? How many will buy a $6 million house? Thank you.
Thank you, panel. Our last pre-submitted question is from Selvi Rasanayagam, and it's on affordability.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name My name is Selvi. I have a question about food security. My question, a root cause of food insecurity is poverty. What is your party planning to do to decrease poverty and food insecurity in Scarborough Southwest? Thank you.
Beautiful. That's great. So thank you so much for the question. This is the right question in the right place. I'm standing in the grocery line. I'm looking at my bill and I'm counting the number of dollars, how much the bill is. Our finance minister lived in half-floor condo in downtown. Do you think the finance minister will ever come down and buy groceries on his own? I don't think so. It is time to get rid of all these people who have super rich, ultra rich, 9 years, 10 years. They're running and they're winning and they're doing nothing for you. For the groceries, the inflation, everything has gone up. We have so much oil and gas, and what we do is we send it to the US, it gets refined over there, comes back, and we have double prices of everything, double prices of housing, double prices of food. Everything is because of the inflation, right? And that we are doubling the fuel price, it doubles everything else. So what we need to do is we need to refine our own oil, bring this inflation down, TTC ridership, we have to increase it, increase the public riding, and also cut down the cost of groceries for common people. This is where it hurts the most, and this is where we need to fix. Thank you.
Thank you, Imran. Michael?
Food security, again, is not a federal jurisdiction. Having said that, I will make a comment on this. The reason why the food's not affordable is inflation. It's very simple. And what causes the inflation is government spending like crazy. We have a $1.3 trillion debt, and we have a $60 billion deficit. That is going to cause inflation. That's what causes all the bills to go up. So if we want to talk about making food more affordable, the first thing we got to do is shrink federal government and get it off of this money that it's spending. We need to eliminate the $1.3 trillion debt. We need to eliminate the deficit, which means what? We got to shrink the government. And I can tell you something, the conservative liberals, the mainstay political parties, what they're trying to do is grow the government. They don't look at it and say, well, how much less can government do? They're looking at it going, I want to grow. I want to get all the money in here, because as some of my colleagues have mentioned, that's really what they're doing. They're taking in money, they're keeping it, they're padding a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of people. And at the end of the day, very little of that actually ends up to the people. So if you want to make food affordable, you got to stop the government from spending. You got to eliminate debt. The government doesn't make any money. So every dollar that it spends, it's taken out of your pocket. That's why food's getting more expensive. We got to shrink government by a hell of a lot. 40%, that's how much the government has grown in the last 10 years. 40%, that's insane. Thank you.
Christine?
Well, my head's spinning here. There's lots of things coming out of people's mouths. It's very interesting. The first thing I would like to say is that we know that no one should have to forgo buying food to pay the rent. No one should have to avoid heating or cooling their homes to afford a transit pass to get to work. So one thing that we have to discuss is what role the government plays in ensuring that people have their rights. Daycare, childcare is a right. Having food is a right. Having a home, housing these are rights because you're human. And so that's number one. And if that's number one, then the monies that the government has should not be going to paying corporations to avoid tariffs. Money should not be going to pay all kinds of funding to get out of the economic crisis. And so we say you have to stop paying the rich. And that's number one. And then the needs of the people will be met. So if you look into how much of our dollars goes to international finance, goes to multinational corporations, and not the people.
Bill.
Lowered taxes for working people were working hard to join the middle class, and we raised taxes for the wealthiest 1%. We also introduced the Canada Child Benefit. The Canada Child Benefit has been a game changer for this country and for this community. It provides money to working families to help support their children, and it has raised hundreds of thousands of children out of poverty in this country, and it helps families right here in Scarborough Southwest. That work is going to continue. We're going to cut further the cost further for the middle class and all working class people in this country. We have already canceled the divisive carbon tax, which is saving Canadians over 18 cents a liter on their gas. It was something Canadians told us they were concerned about, and we listened. We're also delivering a middle-class tax cut, another middle-class tax cut, and that's going to save two-income households up to $825 per year. We're getting government back into the business of building homes. We're going to double the pace of construction over the next decade to almost 500,000 new homes a year, and that will make homes, the supply of homes will increase, and it'll make them more affordable. We're going to eliminate the goods and services tax for first-time home buyers, not for every home buyer, because some time home buyers nearly $500,000 on the purchase of their first home. And we're expanding dental coverage for Canadians between the ages of 18 and 64. And that's going to provide nearly 4.5 million Canadians with dental care that they need, and dollars per year. These and many other measures, including the creation of jobs, is going to help Canadians deal with
You're done, Bill. You're done.
Gentlemen. Food security is an issue very dear to me. I've been working on this issue in Scarborough for over a decade. I would love to say we can solve this through community gardens, but we can't. This is a systemic issue, not only due to inflation, but price gouging from some of the largest corporations. They have, as a corporation, they don't have a sense of responsibility to their customers. Legislation could be introduced to provide relief for all Canadians, enacting legislation that corporations turning massive greedy profits and not investing back into communities is something that the Greens are focused on. Now, in order to really address this issue, which is often the choice between paying your rent and buying groceries, is ensuring that we're investing in affordability for renters. Home buyers, that's great, Bill. However, it's the folks who are renting, who are struggling, who don't have the money to afford a house yet, that are the most at risk of food insecurity. And a universal livable income, such as what was provided during COVID, would provide the relief of those folks who are choosing between rent, buying a transit pass, and groceries.
Thanks, Amanda. Fatima.
Well, I'm really pleased with this question because the New Democrats have an amazing plan. So the New Democrats are in it for working people, not billionaire CEOs or grocery giants. In Scarborough Southwest, families are doing everything right, but costs keep rising while wages stay flat. Grocery prices have soared with the average family expected to pay $801 more for food this year. 1 in 5 Canadians are now skipping meals, and food bank usage is at its highest since 1989. Meanwhile, grocery chains made over $6 billion in profit last year. While families struggle, Liberals handed $26 million to Loblaws and Costco, and Conservatives gave $2.3 billion in tax breaks to the biggest grocers, all while refusing to act on soaring food prices. The NDP will take real action to make life more affordable. We'll scrap the GST on necessities like grocery meals, diapers, and kids' clothes, cap prices on essential grocery items, crack down on shrinkflation and price fixing, and boost local competition by supporting small and community-based grocers. We'll launch national school food programs so every child starts the day with a full stomach. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I love how quickly you talk when you know your time's running out. So good for you. Okay, so this is going to be the fun part, at least what we think is going to be the fun part. We call it rapid fire. And I'm going to move over here so I can face you guys. So all of you have paddles in front of you. One side says yes, one side says no. I'm going to ask you a number of yes or no questions. This is not a discussion. It is a silent answer. It's a quick and visual way for voters to see where you stand on certain issues. So we're going to do a test question. Is my dress orange? Okay, so we're ready to begin then. Here I go. Do you live in Scarborough Southwest? Okay, 2 yeses. Well, the audience rumbles. Should Canada have a stricter federal gun control? Should Canada have stricter federal gun control laws? Okay, we have 1 outlier. Should Canada have a dental care plan that covers all uninsured Canadians? Another outlier. Will the Toronto Maple Leafs make it past the first round of playoffs? Ah, we got some hardcore fans here. Next one is on carbon pricing. Do you support carbon pricing? We are split on this one, mostly. Should the federal government increase its investment in Scarborough Transit? Ah, finally, we agree on one thing. Do you believe it's important to implement all of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action? Okay. Is coffee better than tea? 2 tea drinkers. Okay. Do you support imposing retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods in response to protectionist trade policies? You can abstain. You're allowed to abstain once. How's that? Do you want me to read it again? Do you support imposing retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods? All right. Would you advocate to increase CPP and OAS benefits? I will repeat it again. I can see Amanda still thinking. Would you advocate to increase CPP and OAS? Canada Pension Plan and, oh, sorry. You can abstain from one. There's, you know what? I'll do a spoiler alert at the end if we have time. I will give each of you one opportunity to pick one of the questions. If you want to expand on, change your vote, clarify, you'll have that opportunity to pick one at the end of the rapid questions round. Okay? So we'll move on to the next one. Should Canada have stricter federal bail conditions for repeat violent offenders? Should Canada have stricter federal bail conditions for repeat violent offenders? Christine, no? Okay. Should Canada have a national pharmacare program? Mostly yes. Should the federal government invest in or subsidize renewable energy and clean technologies? Mostly yes again. Should we make it easier for international students and workers who are already in Canada to obtain permanent residency? I'm not going to say it. Would you consider vacationing or will you be vacationing in the US this year? Michael, that's the one question you say yes to. All right. Does our employment insurance system need to be reformed? Okay. Bill, were you no? Did you mean to say no? You meant to say yes. Okay, that's fair. Do you support taxes for the very wealthy so that low and middle income earners would pay less? You're abstaining. That's 3. Okay, but you can only pick one. So you better pick the one that you feel like the strongest about. Will you commit to a national action plan to end gender-based violence? Please say yes. Okay, thank you. Do you see a role for the federal government in addressing the shortage of family doctors and primary care givers? Good. Do you believe it makes more sense to invest in climate change or, do you believe it makes more sense to invest in climate change initiatives versus economic prosperity? So climate instead of the economy. That you could do both, and you can all choose that one as your one question if that's the one you feel strongly about. So that was, you believe in investing in climate change versus the economy. It's a good one. Should the raccoon replace the beaver as our national animal? Christine, you're abstaining from that one too? Should the federal government provide? Yes? Okay. Should the federal government provide funding to help municipalities like Toronto manage the cost of newcomers? Oh, okay. Will you take meaningful action to address the underemployment of foreign trained professionals? Will you take meaningful action to address the underemployment of foreign trained professionals? We're all agreed on that one. That one's good. Should the current immigration targets be decreased? As from the current targets, should they be decreased from the current targets? So yes, yes, no, yes, no. Fatima? Okay. Will Canada ever be the 51st state? All right. Never? There isn't a never, but we'll take a hard no. How's that? So we have time. So good on you. Does anyone feel strongly about going first, or should we just start from Fatima down? So you get to pick one of those questions, and you can clarify, expand on, change your mind on how you voted previously. We will. How are we doing for time, Catherine? I would say give them at least a minute and a half. Oh yeah, let's do a minute. Yeah.
Okay, I'm willing to start so she can. So climate action actually affects every single thing in our environment because the environment is the economy, especially in Canada where we extract resources, send it overseas for processing and then buy it back. Everything that we do in the federal government, in any level of government, is actually can be a climate action, but the policies have to be there about sustainability and ensuring that we have a proper mindset, that we reduce some of the capitalistic thinking and think about long-term strategy, sustainability, affordability, and ensuring there's a just transition to make sure that even though our GDP may be only increased by 1%, GDP is not the true indicator of the wellness of a country.
Thank you. I understand why that question is polarizing. And when Catherine and I were putting that question together, we knew it was going to poke some people in the eye. And I think just for context, and I agree with you, we do need to invest in climate change initiatives. The question was written more in the sense of in the immediate need. What is the immediate need? So in your term when you're in office.
Has just been able to crunch the numbers that actually climate action and going to circular economies and looking at sustainability and changing some of the policies at the legislation that can govern corporations actually adds to the GDP, and it can lead to an increase of 6% if done correctly. So we actually have an opportunity to address this and increase our wealth, but looking at it from a sustainability lens and not funding initiatives like pipelines to the tune of $40 billion.
Thank you. Does anyone else feel strongly about that, the question that Amanda was? So maybe if, Christine, if you want, this is going to be your one that you're choosing. All right. So
well,
Diana,
I did speak to some people before this started, and they were wondering if we were going to talk about the environment. And along with the environment, which is not on the national agenda, is the upholding the hereditary and treaty rights of Indigenous people. So the combination of the two, the issue of the climate and climate change, and the role that Indigenous people should play in our country on the question of how to move forward, means that we have to involve the nations of people in Canada that are closest to the earth and who know how to take care of Mother Earth. And I think that both of those issues have not been discussed by the media on a national scale, and they're very important issues that have to we have to go to the people and find out what their views are in order to solve some of these problems.
Thank you, Christine. Anybody else want to comment on that one? Okay, so Fatima, you ready? Did you choose yours?
Can you hear me? Okay, great. I wanted to address something. I don't want to expand on any on the rapid fire questions that we had, because I think that my answers were pretty consistent with my neighbors here. But I think that we didn't address the elephant in the room, and that is the housing, affordable housing crisis that we are facing here in Scarborough Southwest. I am a tenant myself. I understand this housing crisis because I'm living in it. I am raising my children in the same apartment that I was raised in. The 2-bedroom in the pharmacy. So I'm from the pharmacy buildings right behind us. Our 2-bedroom units are now $2,600 to move. Out of the 3 buildings, only one has 3-bedroom units, and there's only few of them. Yet you see large families waiting at the elevator to get in. Kids are crammed into, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. The kids are suffering. We need to address this, not empty promises. We actually need solutions. The NDP has, sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
That's it's a very popular notion to actually tax the rich. Okay. I voted against it. And I feel that, although maybe I'm not rich, not a lot of people here may not be rich, middle income, but, we have to be fair. Okay, what is fair is fair. So NDP, they really, really lean towards tenant side and forget and ignore the landlords. What have they done to own a property? And then you raise these taxes, property taxes on these owners. So here you are, what you're discouraging home ownership. You're discouraging people to actually own homes, and you are penalizing them. And then there is no investment coming in. You have banned the foreign buyer ban is there. And this makes actually the housing more unaffordable. Trust me, if you want to just, stifle the competition and focus on only the tenants and tenants' rents, but you cannot do that. So we have a plan. Centrist Party has a plan that we will give every person $2,000 per month, regardless of how much money they're making, guaranteed income supplement.
Thank you. Michael, anything stood out for you that you want to expand on?
Yeah, I think I'd like to address the trade war with the US. I think that's something that is ridiculous. If everyone goes back online and they check what was the very first thing that the US requested, it requested that we stop the fentanyl from going into the United States. Now, anybody can go calculate this. Essentially, we are letting in and again, go check it out yourselves. We're letting in about 100, or we're sending into the States about 180 fatal fentanyl doses per user today. When the US told us that they were going to impose tariffs, they said, unless you stop this fentanyl from going in there. What we could have done is sat down with them and said, hey, let's make a plan. Let's work on that. Let's get it done. Instead, what did we do? The conservatives and the liberals used it as a ploy to drum up support. It's a trade war that is not needed whatsoever. All we had to do was stop the fentanyl from flowing in. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The rules apply to you guys too. Okay, Bill?
Thank you very much. I'd like to speak to Fatima's point about housing and about the importance to it to the people of Scarborough Southwest. We know that, and we've said we're going to build 500,000 new homes per year, that we're taking some steps to make housing ownership more affordable. But we also recognize that for many people of this riding, housing ownership is still a long way away and unaffordable. And we have to deal with the affordability of rental housing. And I agree with my friend's point about the need to invest more. One of the very first things we did as a government, and I went to the then Prime Minister and advocated, because I know so many of our citizens here in Scarborough Southwest live in subsidized housing, public housing to the Toronto Housing Corp. Many of those houses have not seen new HVAC systems, new windows, any upgrades in almost 60 years. And so our government put $1.2 billion into the maintenance of those homes. It was critically important. It was the right thing to do, but we need more of them. And that's why we've been working very closely with the City of Toronto and Mayor Chow to provide funding through the Housing Accelerator Fund to assist in the development of affordable rental housing right here in Toronto. There is also quite a bit of federal public lands, many of which under my portfolio in defense.
We're running over again.
And I'd love to talk about it more, but Diana showed me the road sign.
I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to go ahead and well, that's probably a story that we can hear afterwards. That pretty much concludes our formal portion. And Imran Khan, I know you want to talk, and we're going to open it up to the floor now. So we're going to ask the audience here. We also have a couple of questions that came in online. If you have a question, we have some rules for you too. Please ask a question. Don't provide a speech. The longer you take to ask your question, the fewer opportunities other people have to ask questions. If we feel that the question has already been asked, we will grant you the opportunity to ask the question, but we may probably just suggest that we move on to another one. What would be even better is if you asked a yes or no questions and they could answer using their paddles. So that's an option too. So with that, I'm not sure if we have another mic wandering around, but I can start taking questions. Do we maybe want to have a lineup if people want to get up or come on up? Sure. Hi.
Hi. My name is Peter Thatchuk. I'm with Scarborough United Neighborhoods, and I'm a director with the Cliffcrest Scarborough Village Southwest Residents Association. That's a mouthful. However, this could be a yes and no question. In order to help address our current housing crisis, there are two parts. Will you agree to incentivize the not-for-profit sector to build both equity and non-equity co-op housing by ensuring federal lands deemed suitable for housing are first made available by lease or fee simple disposition at low or zero cost to nonprofits, and B, agree to champion or advocate the right for municipalities to issue tax-free municipal bonds or community bonds for the sole purpose of building not-for-profit housing. Yes or no? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And if Oh, yes or no? Okay, that's easy. So if you're all going to answer, so that's the other thing I should have said. If the question is for a specific candidate, make sure that you indicate that when you ask your question. Otherwise, we'll give every candidate an opportunity to answer. And if that's the case, we'll give you 30 seconds each. Does that seem fair? Okay. Imran Khan.
I just wanted everybody to know that 89% of land in Canada is owned by Crown. People own only 11% land. If the Canadian government wants, they can give everybody a home. It takes $500,000 for a developer to build a home, $250,000 for developer to build 50 homes. Imagine if we have to build more homes, the cost will go down. And that's what centrist parties plan to do, is to give home ownership, more people, get them out of this rental chains, get them out of this 2-month, $2,600 rental that they will chain to forever for their life.
Thank you, Imran Khan. Anyone else? Okay. You good? Hi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name's Donna McParlin, and I'm with Peter's organization, so I won't repeat it. As you are aware, and we're talking about this affordability crisis, what we're finding is homes in our neighborhoods are being bought up by foreign investors, and they're commodifying housing. They're outbidding first-time buyers for homes. There's no checks and balances where the funds are coming from and where for the funds and related to these investor-owned homes. Many of these foreign investor owners are turning these homes into illegal multi-tenant housing. We have the largest amount of multi-tenant housing in the whole city of Toronto and Scarborough Southwest. I am currently on a task force with the councillor for multi-tenant housing in our area. These rooming houses charge large amounts of money for deplorable living conditions and have negative impacts on our neighborhoods. So I have two questions. What is your position on investigating where funds are coming from for these investments? And will you consider a registry of land ownership? My second question is, if elected, what would your position be on increased scrutiny by the Canada Revenue Agency on rental funds undeclared by investors of these properties? You know, I was just told today somebody's walking into the TD Bank with a bag of money, and I want to know what's going to be done about it, because money laundering is a huge issue.
So I think the question is, what are you going to do about the housing crisis? So, okay, it was a lot of questions. So in order to get through it, let's pick one part of her question then that you want to address. Christine, you go first this time.
I think what I'm learning from both of your presentations, and probably from a lot more people that are lined up, is that you know the territory. You know what's going on. You're not being listened to. There isn't a process for democratic participation in our country. That's the problem, is that we have cartel parties running the show, and there isn't people participating collectively in solving problems. So many people in this room know how to solve problems. They've done the work, they've done the research. The problem is they're not being listened to. They're not being accessed for the information.
Does anybody else want to jump in on that? Okay, so Fatima, Imran, Michael, Bill, Amanda, all of you, if you all go, you all get 30 seconds. So let Fatima go first.
So thank you for that question. I agree with everything you said. It is very dear to my heart, and I would actually like to expand on it, that the New Democrats will ban corporate landlords from buying up affordable housing, stop rental evictions, and build more for nonprofit and co-op homes. We need bold solutions like using public land to build housing people can afford, and we'll support first-time home buyers so family can stay in the neighborhoods they love. We're in it for the renters and not billionaires.
You, Imran Khan?
Liberals, conservatives, NDP always supported land developers. They are for the big buyers. They are the culprits here who allow every single corporate to take over. You know, there is a law, 1800, was it in 1800, for the money laundering and to buy property, never implemented. never ever implemented. First time. So we have laws, but these MPs, they stand in the parliament, they stand there 10 years, they don't do nothing about it. So this is what it is. Time to take action, bring the people who are non-politics people, bring them in, make the change.
Michael?
I agree with you, yes and yes.
Right. Did I see Bill or Amanda wanted to?
To some of that. First of all, you're dealing with the right order of government with respect to the issuance of housing permits when you're dealing with the city. And I know the city councilor and I've talked about this particular issue in your neighborhood many times. With respect to the issue around CRA oversight and scrutiny of the source of these funds, and we have an agency called FinTrack that has that responsibility. I don't disagree with you on the challenges of oversight. About 10 years ago, the previous government eliminated every integrated proceeds of crime unit in this country. Putting those resources back is a priority for our government, and that's why we're hiring 1,000 new RCMP officers to do that work, so that we can be a better country in keeping illegal money out of our country and communities. And again, I think the issue that you're dealing with, although a very challenging one, needs all the responsibilities. There are separate responsibilities in all orders of government.
Thanks, Bill. Sorry to cut you off again. All right.
Hello, everybody. My name is Daryl Ellis. I am a proud postal worker of 41 years, and I also live in the city of Scarborough. I had passed out earlier a copy of the pre-election report card. So what I'd like to put to all the candidates today, and I have passed them around, and I will bring some up to the table later for you guys to look at, is after a year of tough negotiations and in cooperation, the minister, Labor Minister Steve McKinnon, stopped our strike last year and put a pause on it, and we're now in the process of waiting out for a report on May 15th from Mr. Kaplan. So what I'm asking today from the candidates in this riding is for them to take a pledge. And I'm asking for them, it's a multi-point pledge. The first point is to keep Canada Post a public service. Not yet. So what? Well, like I said, I'll let you hear the question. Okay, all right, yeah, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's keep Canada Post a public service, remains a Crown corporation with strong public service mandate. Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. We're looking at expand services that ensure Canada Post expands its services to include things such as postal banking, check-ins, community hubs to help diversify and increase revenue, generating capacity towards financial self-sustainability, as well as also keep in mind, we're the ones that actually deliver a lot of out of town to the rural areas, to the far north, and to Indigenous communities. So would people be willing to take that part of the pledge? Okay. Okay, no service cuts. We're asking that there be no cuts to postal services, no resumption of conversion to community mailboxes, and no post office closures. Now, just to remember, Mr. Trudeau did put a moratorium on closures of post offices and closing or reducing the door-to-door delivery when he did take office. So we're asking for that to be part of the promise, as well as good jobs in our communities. We don't want this to turn into a gig economy where people are running around in their private vehicles, dropping off packets at 9 o'clock at night or 2 a.m., right? We want to make sure we have good quality jobs for our children and our grandchildren. And one last thing, to be an environmental leader, to use efficient vehicles, electric vehicles. I work in a plant right now that has, it's one of the greenest buildings in Canada right now, the new plant up at Markham Road in Steeles, with solar panels on the roof and electric hookups. So I think we have to look at what we can do going forward to make better jobs, better careers, and more stable for our communities here, both in the city of Toronto, Scarborough, as well as up north. Thank you.
I appreciate your passion, but there's a lineup, so I'm going to try and ask politely again if you could keep your questions to more questions. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take a quick pause. We're going to take one question from online, and then we're going to go back. So you will be next, sir. So we had a number of questions submitted online. regarding Israel and the Gaza situation. So I'm going to give you all 30 seconds if you want it. What I'm going to ask you is just to maybe talk about your approach to the issue in Gaza and in Israel. Christine, 30 seconds.
I'd like to tell you there's a pledge you can take on this issue. If you go to votepalestine.ca, they call for imposing a two-way arms embargo on Israel and Canadian involvement in illegal Israeli sentiments, address anti-Palestinian racism and protect freedom of expression, recognize the state of Palestine, and fund Gaza relief efforts, including UNRWA.
Hello? Yeah, okay, great. I was actually waiting for this question. Of course, I am proudly pro-Palestinian. My dad is Egyptian. His family has fought in the Egyptian-Israeli war, so this is very close to my heart. But also, my grandfather is a World War II veteran. My mom comes from Slovakia. But I stand in unwavering solidarity with the Palestinian people. What is happening in Gaza is a humanitarian catastrophe. Tens of thousands killed, the majority civilians, many of them children. This cannot be allowed to continue. Canada must act urgently and decisively. We are calling for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, an end to the illegal occupation, and the full restoration of humanitarian aid. Canada must stop sending arms to Israel.
Okay, we're going to go to Amanda. Sorry, Fatima. I feel like she'll support you on this.
Yes, so we both have signed the pledge. I have, once again, I did in the last election as well. The Greens have always called for a two-state solution. Canada's silence on this issue has been shameful. It is so shameful. And I know the majority of folks that I've spoken to, my family, everybody is horrified with what is going on. This is nothing short of a genocide.
Bill?
Thanks. It's a well-established policy of the government of Canada, and we continue to call for, first of all, the two-state solution, which includes secure borders both for the Palestinian and Israeli people. We have called for a ceasefire of the hostilities. We are not selling any arms to Israel, notwithstanding I keep on hearing and insisting on an embargo. And finally, we have committed to continuing humanitarian aid through UNRWA to the Palestinian people. And frankly, there is only one party involved in this election who intends to stop all humanitarian aid, and it is not ours.
Thank you. Imran Khan?
I was in the mosque last Friday. Mr. Bill was allowed to speak. I wasn't allowed to speak. And Mr. Bill said, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be on you. He was a defense minister. He said, peace be on you, and sending bombs in the back. So that is incorrect. And Muslims don't have to, they have to understand, these are the people who would just take your vote. Trust me, they make fun of you. They say brown vote is free vote. Take it, and you don't have to do anything for them. This war has to stop. Two-state solution, although, is dead. We have to make one state where Israel and Palestinians live peacefully, and you have to be fair. No violence from either side. So we are for no violence from either side and live in peace.
Thank you.
The only thing I'll say is that we should not be involved in any wars.
Let me begin by thanking you very much for putting your names forward. I know the public service is an incredible honor, and I realize that that comes to the expense of your families, that comes to the expense of your friends. I thank you very much for your service, Mr. Blair. I thank you very much for your willingness to come forward and do the same. My name is Matthew Lister. I'm a former Provincial Task Force Director for the Diagnostic and Surgical Backlogs. I am wholly consumed with affairs of healthcare. I don't see Muslim, I don't see Jewish, I don't see Christian, Hindu, Indigenous. I see human beings, Canadians. They need care. Every single government of every single stripe over the years provincially has failed and succeeded in different aspects of healthcare delivery. So I do not believe in any party having a magic solution towards anything. What I'm curious about, since our backlogs for diagnostic and surgical services have been increasing steadily over 35 years, is whether you could comment briefly on how you might approach the issue to resolving things. Thank you.
Can I address this? Yeah. So there are two places I've been to. One is a nursing home, and trust me, if you go there, the stench that you feel over there, I don't want to be there myself. I don't want to put my grandma, grandfather, daughter, anybody there. The second place is the housing, public housing. These governments have failed us miserably in public housing. You cannot take the elevator, you cannot go by the stairs. And they have said that they will build it. For the last 18 years, I'm watching this going down. Now, as far as the healthcare is concerned, they're putting people in the hallways in the hospital to bring in new patients in, and these people are waiting for nursing home vacancy. How can that happen? These people have paid taxes all their life, and now we're treating them like that.
Thanks, Imran. Bill?
Yeah, thanks very much. It's a very important question. I think every Canadian is concerned about healthcare, the availability of a family doctor, the wait times for emergency services. I think there's important work, and I think there is a responsibility for both orders of government who have responsibility here, the Government of Canada and each of the provinces and territories. I think there needs to be much more work done. There is a number of different proposals being offered by the provinces. It is a concern to us simply because some of those proposals could be a violation of the Canada Health Act, but it does require we work collaboratively together and listen in particular to the medical community about the delivery of those services. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. And then Amanda?
The question that you pose, as my mom has suffered from, and she passed from a very rare and aggressive cancer. And the question that you asked is so important, but I feel like they really, the answers that you have gotten were really not directed by your question. And I just wanted to say that I think I don't have the answer for you right now, and I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I think that the answer would be to invest more in healthcare.
Amanda?
Absolutely. We are, as Greens, are looking at strengthening and expanding universal public health care. But I think one thing that is the elephant in the room on this issue is that no level of government that I've ever heard of is speaking with the colleges of physicians to talk about the bottleneck of students who are coming in from graduation, finding placement, and the cap that has basically been put into place that impedes our ability to train new doctors in the healthcare system. We need to negotiate.
Thank you. Next question. Let's see if this mic works. Sure. Go right ahead. 30 seconds.
Some of the worst wait times, and yet we spend the most for it. That healthcare should be returned closer to the people, and the provinces should be running it. The federal government should eliminate the GST and let the provinces occupy that tax space and take that money from that tax and deliver health to the to the citizens of the province more closely. And yes, that is true.
Okay, so my question will be. Hello? Okay, to Bill and then open to. The Liberal plan proposes introducing legislation. People protest outside or try to impede access to any place of worship, schools, or community centers. This came as a result of protesters outside of Vaughan Synagogue, while real estate brokers were inside selling land in the illegally occupied West Bank. The protest was not against the place of worship. I was actually there, but against the illegal and immoral commerce going on inside. Clearly, the Liberal Party is very influenced by the Israeli lobby. And in this proposal, which institutes charter rights and which insults charter rights, and will undoubtedly be challenged in court, they are hoping to repress free speech and assembly, exactly what the pro-Israel lobby wants. Basically, they're trying to criminalize people who protest against genocide and this will obviously have larger effects to all Canadians. Bill, if you're elected, will you support or oppose this policy? A yes or no answer, please.
Well, thank you for the question. And
A yes or no answer, please.
and you don't get to determine how I answer your question. That's not how this works. But I will tell you, I do support Canadians' right to worship. And I know how important that is to many people in this room. And whether you go to a mosque or a synagogue, a church, a gurdwara, or a temple, I believe that you have a right to go there in peace and safety and security. And I also believe that Canadians have a right to protest. But there are limits to that protest. And the limits of their rights are where other people's rights collide. And so we need to make sure that we strike the appropriate balance in Canada, that we respect every Canadian's right to freedom of worship, and we respect others to express their opinion. And I'm sorry that wasn't a yes or no answer, but yes, I would support such legislation.
The other candidates would answer as well, please.
Whoever wants to answer, you get 30 seconds. Okay, Christine, Imran, Amanda.
I think that's absolutely disgusting answer. And I really think that the government is hiding behind support for the Zionist project and that they are supporting the genocide in Palestine. And they have been, all parties have been at a federal level. And we have thousands of people on the streets in Ottawa last week. At least 20,000, and no one's listening to them. 30,000? So how could there be 30,000 people on the streets? This isn't about places of worship at all.
Imran?
So the liberals, they claim that, this is the right of everybody to protest, right? Yet they go against the same policy. This is the duality of their talk. And any Muslim over here, anybody else who is here, a resident of Scarborough South, anywhere else, you have to be ashamed if you vote for them, because this is the dual talk that they do. This talk is just putting me to sleep. They just say things like left and right, just unbelievable. Now, NDP is the worst. What they do is they say, yes, we oppose it, and then they go ahead and don't do anything about it. Where they have the power to change it, they have the power to do that. They never did anything. So they're both in this thing together.
Okay, Fatima. Sorry, were you supposed to go next, Amanda? You can go after.
Sorry, this a bit caught me off guard because he mentioned us, namely, but thank you so much for your question. The answer is unequivocally yes. The question was never if, we support people worshiping anywhere. The question was, are you going to support people that are protesting for Palestine, for people dying? And if you cannot answer that honestly or right away, and you have to hide and make it somehow, dress it up in some sort of way, that means you're serving the other interests, right? The answer is yes. People should be able to protest. The Palestinians that are dying need voices.
Thank you. Amanda?
I do agree. I do agree with you. Assembly and protest, whether it be, this may not be what y'all want to hear, but the truckers in Ottawa, whether it's somebody at a public place, that is one of the beautiful things about Canada is our freedom to protest. And when it's in support of international issues, people should not be held to a different account.
Michael?
Protest is legal. I see no issue with it.
Okay. We've got like 15 minutes left at best. So let's try and give everybody an opportunity to ask a question.
Yeah, I had another question that I wanted to ask, but when I heard what Bill Blair had to say, which is not true about the arms to Israel, I'm going to instead address that. So the Liberals claim that there is an arms embargo, and in fact, Mark Carney has said that publicly, that there's an arms embargo. That is absolutely not true. It's very, very easy to research, but the why they are saying it is because they don't ship directly to Israel. They ship to the United States because there's a loophole that allows them to do that. And then their colleagues in the United States, of course, send bombs by the day to Israel. So this is how they do it. And actually, there is some armaments, yes, I do. There are some armaments going directly, components going directly from Quebec to United States. So I just want to point out that this is a lie, that there is an arms embargo in Canada. And I'd like Bill Blair to admit to that lie. Will you admit that what I am saying is true and then what you are saying is not true? And I'd like also the other people to speak to this issue.
Question was for Bill? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. All arms shipped from Canada to any country require an arms export permit from Global Affairs Canada. No export permits have been authorized for the shipment of arms to Israel. That's what we've said, and that's the truth. Well, again, we don't control what the United States does or does not do, but I'm sorry, but what we have said is Canada is not shipping arms to Israel. That's the truth.
Hello?
Or unless we are defending ourselves at home. So I don't think we should be involved in any foreign entanglements of any sort or anything like that, or enabling any of them. It doesn't matter what side it is. The only time that I would support war is if we here are getting attacked and we need to defend ourselves. Otherwise, we should be out of it.
We have to be fair, by the way. We have Jewish people living in Canada as well. We need to be fair to them. They are our brothers, sisters, working right next to us as well. And most of them are against the war. So we need to understand that we have to be fair to everybody. Do not oppress anybody. Do not do violence to anybody. If you want to protest in peace and express yourself correctly. And that's the way to move forward. But I can tell, last comment, you can put a lipstick on a pig is still a pig, Bill. This is absolutely way around to tell people and take their vote, but you got to be careful, guys.
Hi, my name is Philip Mills, and my question is I apologize to everyone else sitting there. It's also for Bill, as he is our incumbent MP and he's part of the governing party. So you do have the most to prove, but it is what it is. This government has been in power for a long time, almost 10 years now. And with any kind of incumbent government, there are successes and there are failures. We've got legalized marijuana, which is a success. Thank you. I didn't start with that one. And then, of course, we've got electoral reform, which is famously, a Liberal Party failure. But I do think in this election, there has been one very important announcement, which came from Prime Minister Mark Carney, the reintroduction of public builders. And I guess it's more of a comment and less of a question, but I'd really like some sort of guarantee that this is a high focus for this government. If the Liberals form government again, I just hope that it's the top priority and it doesn't sort of become something that can fall through the cracks. That's not really a question, it's more of a statement. Oh, just that public building or having public builders is an important part of the next formed government.
Yeah, if I understand your question correctly, we believe that the government of Canada, the federal government, has a responsibility to be involved in housing. And that means working with provinces and municipalities, but it also means working with the private sector. But the government has a role to play here, and we understand that the government needs to do that and will do that. And again, we're always willing to be held to account. We have an election every 4 years, but I think the Prime Minister, Mr. Carney, has been very explicit about the importance of building houses and that the government of Canada has a role to play in that, and we're going to live up to that role.
Amanda?
One of the things that the Green Party would do is to fast track those who are in the skilled trades into permanent residency and citizenship. And what has been lacking is the training of young people. That was a provincial pullout by the Conservatives to reduce training in high schools because it was the largest budget item for our high schools. The federal government can work with the provincials to ensure that funding is redirected into high school trade programs to make sure that we have the workforce.
Okay. We're going to take one more question because we're at time. So if you can try and keep your question brief.
Hi, my name is Marwan. This is my friend Marsha, and we're both domestic students here. So my question is, many students who rely on OSAP are completing their studies, but with a struggling job market, they're finding it difficult to secure employment within 6 months of graduation. At the same time, interest rates on student loans remain high after the 6 months grace period, putting additional financial pressure on graduates. What is your plan to reduce the financial burden and create more job opportunities for the students? Thank you.
Imran, then Amanda. Sorry, Amanda.
Centrist Party takes the position of education to be free. You guys, when you graduate, you have this unimaginable loan to pay off that you take years and years to pay off. So we don't want you to come out of the school having a big debt to pay. I have a quick question for NDP and Liberals. I have Fatima, you have kids that go to school. I want you to make a pledge. Have you seen the material that they teach little kids that husband and wife cannot even look at? And you supported it, Bill, your government supported. Do you plan to remove and revoke that? We should be shameful of what they're teaching our kids. Teach them math, science, English, arts, languages. Okay. Leave that to the parents.
So Amanda, I'll let her just answer that. And then you go next, okay?
How long do I have for this?
You have 30 seconds and that's it.
Oh gosh, how do I express all my feelings into this one question? I want to answer his question because it is an important one. When I'm knocking on doors, and honestly, if I get penalized for this, it's fine. But basically, what I believe in is educating our kids about their anatomy. I am not ashamed to admit that. Wait. Now
she didn't interrupt.
What actually happened here, my son was in this community center for a March break camp. What has happened, he's only 5 years old. 2 little children followed him into a bathroom and there was a minor incident that happened. My son was able to express himself in full sentences about what has happened. He was able to name his body parts and absolutely everything, which has given him the power to advocate for himself. When you hear a 5-year-old expressing themselves in a clear manner, just backwards.
Thank you. I agree. Amanda? No.
So I'd like to congratulate you on almost completing your studies. One of the things you do need to know, though, is that the provincial portion of your OSAP is actually accruing interest. One of the main factors that the Greens have come up with this year is paid tuition. Now, I do understand that the Liberals have proposed investment into trades and covering the cost of tuition for those sectors. However, if we want our kids to come up into an environment where they can find work, we have to be able to provide them with education that matches the job force.
Thank you. Christine?
Thank you for your question. So we've been talking about rights, at least I've been talking about rights, that, you know, housing is a right, education is a right. If it's a right, it should be guaranteed. It should not be a burden financially on you or families. And as far as employment goes, the The women in this community have been fighting for a living wage. And that's the kind of thing that we have to guarantee in our society.
Bill?
I believe, first of all, that the government has a responsibility to help people get their education, and that repaying the cost of that should not start until you actually find work. Helping you find work is a responsibility of all orders of government. We need to create more job opportunities to help connect people to good jobs, good paying jobs, so that they can be successful and prosperous. There are a couple of agencies right here in Scarborough, by the way, and one, the lady in front of you, is responsible for. We've provided some funding, and she's done some miraculous work with it to help people connect to work. And so there are people out in our organization, in our communities, that are available to help you with that.
Okay, we'll let you close this one out. This is it.
Thank you. I also wanted to add that when people talk about free education, because I was originally born in Europe and we have free education, but what we don't talk about is the extra funding that the students need to get to live. A lot of time, OSAP, you have to pay back what, about 50%. So in some cases, the education part would be free, but you still need money to live. The NDP and me personally, right, I am for abolishing loans, because I don't think that people should be, as they, started life, they should be, owing 50,000 back to OSAP. So it's not just about free education. It goes beyond that. It's about support for young mothers going back to school, for students. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we are at time. And so that concludes this evening. I want to take time to thank you all, both here and online, for joining us. Thank you to the West Scarborough Neighborhood Community Center for hosting tonight and providing the AV. Well, let me thank you first. I really do want to thank you all. This is not easy doing this. So thank you for taking your time for the lively conversation. I'm assuming some of you would be willing to stay behind if you wanted to speak to everyone. Catherine, what do you think about giving them a minute each to close out, since we have some time? Okay, so we'll give everyone an opportunity, 1 minute to close out, and then we will officially close the event. Thank you again.
Sorry, guys. This is very important, okay? I think that we need to address the strategic voting that has been happening. A lot of people are progressive. They like the NDP or the Green policies, but we feel that we have to vote for Mark Carney. We can, here in Scarborough Southwest, we have a progressive voice. In the past election, we had over 76% of voters are progressive voters. We are not splitting the vote away from, for the Conservatives to win. You can choose to vote NDP or Green if you like, and it's not going to, Mark Carney is still going to be Prime Minister, if that's what you're going for. You don't have to split the vote. You don't have to vote Liberal if you don't want to. This is not a riding where this is necessary. Yes, sorry, I had a little bit more on that, but vote for a candidate that represents you, that understands your issues, that is local, that is active here.
Okay, we're going to go to Amanda. Amanda.
So this is my third time running, and I'm not doing it because it's just something I enjoy doing. I'm doing it because I'm running for my children's future. I'm doing it for your children's future. I'm going to be a grandmother in the summer. I need to ensure that there's a livable area that we can call home, that supports the development of our grandchildren to grow in a healthy, affordable environment. Investing money in American fighter jets and 30 billion into pipelines is not an investment into constituents, and we need to address this. The Green Party is here for you. We have a plan to protect Canadians and to move to a new economy that is not dependent on the USA. And I humbly ask for your vote at the end of the election cycle on the 28th. And Greens will always fight for you, not fight for a party line.
Thank you. Bill?
Very much. Once again, I'd like to thank those who organized this event. And I'd like to thank all of you for joining us here this evening and in being engaged in this very important election and in your community. I believe this is one of the most consequential elections of our time. The future of Canada is in many respects at stake. And therefore, I hope that you will all be very thoughtful about this upcoming election. I personally believe that we need serious leadership at this time, and we need to unite the country and work together. But I want to encourage you all to vote. Whatever candidate, whatever party you choose to support, this is an important election and your vote matters. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bill. Christine?
I think we saw under the Ontario elections how our electoral process can give 100% power to someone that doesn't even have 50% of the votes. And I think we have to look at changing the way our electoral system works. I think the majority for any party in this federal election would not do us well. I think that it's very unfortunate that April 28th was made the day of voting. April 28th is the day of mourning for workers who are injured or made ill, killed at work, and for their families. And the government insensitively made this day voting day. Please attend one of the 3 events in Toronto for the day of mourning as well as voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Michael?
A lot of the problems that we talked about tonight were affordability. And all the parties, well, not all I should say, but a lot of the parties here, their solution to an affordability crisis is to spend more money. That's really what you heard. What you heard was, yes, affordability is bad. Here, we're going to spend more here. We're going to spend more here. We're going to spend more here. The government spending more money is going to make the affordability crisis worse. We've got to shrink the federal government by a huge amount. We've got to get out of debt, and we have to stop our deficit. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Imran Khan, close us out, please.
Thank you for giving me the chance, and I appreciate everybody listening to it. A penguin walks into a room and asks the bartender, "My brother is lost. Have you seen him?" The bartender says, "What does he look like?" Well, these are all penguins. If you don't recognize them, for the last 20 years, they are ripping you off left and right. They are saying nice, beautiful things, but they have never done anything. I am here for 2 people, the little newborns who are not even here, and the senior citizen who are in those stinking rooms and in the nursing rooms, right? So we have to cut these taxes into half. All people's taxes half the politicians pay, half the fuel prices, everything will be normalized, and we have to get rid of this sex education by liberals, NDPs, and conservatives. They all support it. It's killing our kids. It's killing our future.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone.